Hello, my name is Daniel Focarino, and this is my FTE 211 Week 7 assignment. Today's date is August 24th. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and show that this weapon's cleared. I already got the magazine out, so what we're going to do is lock the slide back to the rear. We're going to physically and visually inspect, make sure that it's clear. This weapon is cleared, and we are ready to start working on it. So with this firearm, as far as the trigger goes, you want to just kind of make sure what we're looking for is smooth trigger pull back. There's no kind of drag or take up or anything. Something that's binding any kind of discrepancies within the pull or function of the trigger itself. If you do have a customer that comes in who has an issue or a complaint about the trigger or the firing control group, whether it's something's hanging up or it's not as smooth as what it used to be, then you can always disassemble everything, clean it, take a look at it if you need to deburr using the track stone, which is something that we're going to do here in a little bit. Also with this, you want to make sure, as far as the firing control group goes, everything that works together is meeting up the way that it should. You don't want any kind of excessive gapping or clearances on parts where, say the sear isn't lined up where it should be, could cause an issues with firing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and disassemble this, and we'll move on to part 2. Alright, so I got everything disassembled now. One thing that I want to go ahead and bring up right now is if you look at the way the hammer and the sear, check the engagement here and look to see the angle. You either have a positive, negative, or neutral angle on this thing. If you had the right tools, like a jig or something like that, you could go in there and you could kind of polish up the angles and get a better fitment on there, but I wouldn't really do too much with it right now just because I don't have the right tools for it. And then another thing you can do as far as any kind of adjustments or modifications, you got your spring here. You can go ahead and kind of make a little bit of adjustments to this. If you need to kind of bend it a little bit and adjust it where you can kind of adjust trigger tension on there, which would kind of decrease the amount of weight required for trigger pull. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this track stone here, and right in here in these channels where the trigger goes, I'm just going to stick that in there, and I'm going to kind of file it, deburr, if there's any kind of obstructions or anything in there. I'm going to go ahead and remove all that stuff. I'm going to go ahead and do that and run through a couple times, and then I'll be back. Alright, so I went through a few times on there. So what we'll do is we'll take our hammer or our trigger and we'll put it back in there, kind of test the feel for it. It feels a lot smoother now. Not really a whole lot that I took away from it. The only other modification that I would probably do for this would probably put like an aftermarket trigger, like a Wilson Combat, something with a little bit lighter trigger pull on there. I don't want to go too light on there. Probably want to drop below probably about 4 pounds. But other than that, that's about the only modification that I would make for that. So we'll go ahead and put this back together and move on to part 3. Okay, so for part 3 of this assignment, we need to do a functions check, doing a dry fire, and then also using dummy rounds. So first thing we're going to do here is no magazine inserted. I'm going to go ahead and simulate feeding. Got safety on. I'm going to pull the trigger. Nothing happens. Grip safety. Nothing happens. Take the safety off. Pull the trigger. Simulate it firing, extracting, ejecting. Listen for the reset. Alright, now we'll go on to using some dummy rounds, and we will do a dry fire. Alright, so now we got everything loaded. We're going to use these dummy rounds. We're going to go ahead and load our magazine. We're going to go ahead and feed chamber and load, and we're going to put thumb safety on. Pull the trigger, nothing happens. Grip safety, nothing happens. Now go ahead and squeeze the trigger, fire. I'm going to extract and eject the round. We're going to load another one. Listen for the reset. Again, nothing happens here. Grip safety, nothing happens. Actually pull the grip, slide locks back to the rear, and that completes our functions check. Alright, so here we are back in for part 4. Got everything disassembled. Top 3 things that I would probably choose on here as far as modifications go. First thing would be the grip, or the grip safety. I would make a little bit longer beaver tail on there. That way it kind of fits a little bit better into the web of the hand when you're holding it. As the slide's coming back, just kind of prevent or protect against spider bite. Another thing that I'd probably upgrade would be the trigger itself. I might go with something that's a little bit lighter, looks a little bit cleaner, and feels a little bit better as far as firing goes. And then the third thing that I would do is I would either go into the actual frame and checker the frame for a little bit better grip, or I would go probably with an ambidextrous safety. That way I can alternate shooting between my left and right hand. So I'm going to go ahead and put this all back together, and then we will do a functions check, and that should complete our week's assignment. Okay, so now that we got everything back together, what we're going to do is do one more check just to make sure that everything is working the way that it should. So I'm going to go ahead and rack the slide. Again, safety, nothing happens. Take the thumb safety off. Grip safety, still doesn't fire. I'll go ahead and hold it, simulate firing. Go ahead, rack the slide, listen for the reset, and that's it. That concludes this week's video. Thanks for watching.